Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Onyx Path Twitch, where we have gathered for a bit of a write along. Today, we're going to be focusing on doing some writing sprints. I've got a 20-minute timer set up, and you will see the lovely Rhiannon, I believe. I could be getting the name wrong. The lovely Scion lady behind me, as we are going to be um, doing a little bit of Cyan writing today. I'm focusing on a uh, release for the Storypath Nexus. The inspiration for it is that I am currently running a game on Start Playing, a game of Cyan Origin, and I will go ahead and throw that link in the chat just so that you have access to it. We have 2 seats open as of right now in that game, and it's just started. Brand new Cyan Origin game. The inciting event for it, I guess, was a previous community content release I had done called In the Club, I believe, or At the Club. Let's see. What did I call that? Cyan Club. Night at the Club. That's what it was called. And I'll throw the link to that in the chat as well. So that was kind of our inciting kickoff for this campaign. And the players went through it last night. We finished the bulk of that adventure. But there's a much bigger world, and they're just now starting to take steps into it. So I wanted to work on some establishing material for that bigger world. And then since I'm doing the writing anyway, might as well throw it up on the Nexus for everybody to benefit from. Before we dive in too far to what is going on, a couple of things I would like to make you aware of. In case you missed it, the Curseborn Tasty Bit has released. The Master Cat is the name of this Tasty Bit, and I will throw that link in the chat here now. And like all of the Tasty Bits this year, Master Cat is an antagonist for Curseborn. It's every month, at the end of each month, we are releasing a different antagonist. These are built specifically to work not only with the larger Curseborn game and all of the updated files that you can get if you've already backed Curseborn over on on Kickstarter and then or pre-ordered on BackerKit. But it also works seamlessly with the Ashcan edition. So if you're one of those folks that doesn't maybe do crowdfunding, you like to pick things up once they're available at DriveThruRPG. You have the Ashcan, but you've not yet gotten the Curseborn book. You can just grab that Ashcan and these Tasty Bits, and build yourself out a whole chronicle, a whole campaign of adventures focused on these various antagonists. So that's pretty neat. What else do I want to make you aware of? I think we might have a few hours left. We have a day and 21 hours left in the Christmas in July sale. I would highly recommend, if you've not yet done so, head over to DriveThruRPG, the Christmas in July page, and take a look at what all is on offer. We have hundreds of PDFs on sale, and across the site there are thousands from hundreds of publishers. Discounts ranging from I think 30 to 75%. So good opportunity to save a lot of money on some books. While I am doing the stream today, in case you're not familiar with writing sprints, basically what we'll do is I've got a little 20-minute timer in the corner over there, and I will activate that timer and mute myself when the sprint begins. It's over there. Look at me, not knowing how to tell my left from my right. Sprint goes, we all write for 20 minutes. Or if you're not writing, maybe you're reading, maybe you're working out, whatever activity you want to do. I'm not your mom. You can go ahead and take that time and use it for that activity to sort of focus. It's a nice way, I think, for us to co-work and for us to keep ourselves on task. So, speaking of being on task, because I went on this long, weird tangent, I'm building out the world for this Scion Origin campaign. I'm planning on it being at Origin level for a while, and I'm keeping things in the sort of urban fantasy tone that is suggested in Origin. So they are aware the supernatural exists. They have encountered it, in fact, already. But it's not like an everyday thing. And it's definitely noteworthy in their lives right now. You know, as the show progresses, of course, they will change. That will change. But the environment that I want to build for them, we all decided during session 0 that they're going to live in an apartment complex. That's their common tie. They all live in an apartment complex that is called God's Village. So that is going to be the working title, at the very least, of our document. And God's Village is a high-rise building in the city of Chicago. We have established that it is 15 stories tall. And it's in a not great neighborhood. Certainly not the worst neighborhood in the city, but definitely not the most opulent. During our initial session 0, I asked each of the players to come up with one person who lives in the building and kind of their character's relationship with that person, as well as they worked sort of together to build the superintendent of the building who lives on site. So I'm going to have those characters reflected in this document, but I'm also going to stat out the rest of the building. You know, we're going to look at the mechanical aspects of it. One of the things I always like to do when I'm writing for Storypath stuff, and you'll see this, I think in most of my community content, but definitely like in the Edgebrook Rooftops Tasty Bit, in the laboratory Tasty Bit I did for Adventure. I like to make sure that we have the scales of a location readily accessible, because in Storypath, feats of scale often come into play. Maybe a little bit less so in Scion than in Trinity, depending on where you're at along the line of things. But it's a good piece of information to have. So during my sprints today, I will be focusing on the mechanics of the building itself. I will be focusing on the denizens in that building. Most of the people living there are going to be just mundane folk, but I do think that there's going to be a couple of denizens in there, like actual denizens in there as well. People who would qualify as supernatural in some fashion. And depending on where this goes, I don't have like a clear outline. I'm sort of pantsing, to borrow a term from AuthorTube. But depending on where this goes, I may expand more out into the further neighborhood, or I might, look at that as a second release. We'll see how it goes. I'll probably have some information in here regarding how to incorporate it into your game, as well as how to use it the way that we are effectively using it, as a sort of springboard for the Night of the Club. Makes sense? I hope so. So I'm going to crack open my copy of Origin on PDF. I also have a copy of a beautiful, traditionally printed retail copy of Sun and Origin, which I love. And I believe you can get at Studio 2 right now, your friendly local game store. And I'm also going to have my Roll20 copy open because we are using Roll20 for the larger campaign. So as I'm building a few things, they may find their way into the Roll20 as well, because I do like to, if I know that if I'm going to be doing like campaign planning and I know I'm going to be using a virtual tabletop, my preference is to uh, sort of stack that up ahead of time, make sure that that's built while I'm doing my writing, just to save me the labor of going back and doing it again later. But we're now 16 minutes into me running my mouth. So I think we're about ready to kick off our first sprint. Just a reminder, if you pop in and you have questions, just go ahead and pop them in the chat. Happy to talk about them during the sprints. Or I'm sorry, during the pauses between the sprints. I won't be talking at all during the sprints. And yeah, I hope everybody has good, fruitful writing. If you've got something you're working on, drop it in the chat. Let me know what you got cooking. And here goes 20 minutes. Provided I can find the right window. There we go. Here goes 20 minutes.
never slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some modestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No I'm not giving up, no I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
All right, folks, that is the end of our first sprint. We're going to just go ahead and reset our timer. So that's good to go. Saw a couple people had popped in. Thank you so much for being here. Sarpus and Kadam. Hope all is well in your worlds. We're just doing some writing sprints, um, trying to get a little bit of community content together. I'm working on a upcoming release that I'm doing for Scion Origin. It's based on the uh, game that I'm currently running on Start Playing, and that is throw that link in the chat right there. Nope, I absolutely grabbed the wrong link earlier when I was talking about it, so now's a chance for me to grab the right one. So yeah, I'm running a campaign on Start Playing. It just started, and we're using Scion Origin, and the premise is that all of the player characters live in the same house or same apartment complex, I should say. So in session 0, as we talked about it, we sort of flesh out a very little bit of that building, some real basic information, just enough for us to move forward with play. But I thought it might be a good idea for me to put together the entirety of the building. And since I'm going to do all that work, there's no reason not to put it together and release it on the Storypath Nexus. Now, I assume if you're here, you know what the Storypath Nexus is, but when you make an assumption, you make an ass out of you an umption. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the Storypath Nexus FAQ in the chat. The Storypath Nexus is the community content program that we use Onyx Path for all of our Storypath games. So right now, you can use Storypath Nexus to publish Scion, any, I believe, Origin, Hero, Demigod, Dragon, and possibly Masks of the Mythos are all unlocked at this point. Definitely check the FAQ to be sure. I know that Trinity Continuum, Aeon Adventure, and Aberrant are all unlocked, and there's definitely more on the way there. Dystopia Rising Evolution is available. They Came From is available. So you have all these various different game settings that you can go ahead and promote and create your own content for. So what does that look like? Well, there are templates you can download direct from the Storypath Nexus to help you lay out your book in a way that looks similar to what Onyx Path puts out. It gives you a professional quality layout template. There are also art packs that we have that are art from the Scion books or the official books of the line that you're going to be working with. That has been adjusted for use by the community, and they're free to use. You're also welcome to use any stock art that you have permission to use that is not AI generated. And then, yeah, you can make effectively a release that uses Onyx Path's intellectual property, but your own tweaks and adjustments to it, and you can charge for it. You can set them up as pay what you want. You can set them up as free. We don't necessarily encourage that, but those are options that you have, particularly if you're just starting out and say you just, you have a deity from a pantheon that exists in one of the books, but has not been, the deity themselves has not been set up. So you want to do a little write-up of this deity. You could throw that together in a page, write down their purviews, all that jazz, break out the details of this specific deity, how their myth functions. And you could throw it up in a Word doc for free. Or you can use the layout templates and make something that looks a little bit more professional and charge for it. Or you can all the way up to, I've seen books, I've worked on books that are all the way up to, 60, 70, 100 pages. It just depends on what your concept demands and how much work you're willing and able to put in for it. Once you publish, you whatever you choose to charge, 50% of that goes to you. So it just pays you right out into your Drive-Thru RPG account. And the other 50% is split between Onyx Path Publishing and Drive-Thru RPG. So it's not a bad deal for a setup that gives you access to free graphic resources and art, and lets you use intellectual property that would otherwise not be free to the public. So I would recommend checking it out. There's a lot of good stuff on there too. One of the things that I will always bring up whenever I'm talking about community content is the quality of a lot of these releases is superb. And even the things that might be a little bit rougher around the edges can often find a life at your table with a little bit of customization. So I know there are some people who, maybe balk at the idea of something that's not officially released, but I would recommend you don't do that. You'll be closing yourself off from a lot of cool material, and frankly, a lot of us who work on these books professionally also release community content, because there might be just this thing I'm working on right now, this God's Village apartment complex. It's not something that I would be able to pitch for a book. Maybe I could pitch it as like a tasty bit, but the tasty bit program, we usually break out by a year, right? This year we're doing all Curseborn stuff. So even if I did pitch it and it went through the whole pitch process and they were like, yeah, let's do that, I would be putting it out in 2026 at the earliest. So I can instead take that idea that maybe doesn't have enough legs that it would get through a pitch, or maybe they might love it, but I would have to wait, forever and a day to do it. And instead I just knock it out as community content. It's right there. The writing is, I promise you, the same quality that I'll be doing if I'm being, paid directly by Onyx Path to do it. And there you have it. And I get a direct income stream from it. So there's really no reason not to try it out if you're doing any sort of content creation anyway. If you're running a game, you're going to be making notes. You're going to be setting up that game. You're going to be building SGCs. You're going to be building environments. Why not take those notes, polish them up a little bit, get them out in the world for other people to check out? If worked at your table, it'll probably help theirs as well. And again, make a few bucks. Use those bucks, get yourself a coffee, or use those bucks to pick yourself up a PDF next time we have a sale or something along those lines. It's really a win-win situation. I highly recommend you check it out. That said, is anybody in the chat got anything that they're working on, or are y'all just kind of hanging out to watch and chill out? Feel free to let me know. I am, like I said, working during the sprints, so don't be dismayed if I'm slow to respond at those points, because my face is buried in my word processor. But yeah, feel free to speak up. I'm going to actually go ahead, and before we go back into our next sprint, I'm going to just go ahead and make some text that says we are doing rating sprints, 20 minutes each. Please hang out and work along. I had these lofty aspirations that I was going to put together like a music playlist for these, and I just didn't get around to it. Shame upon me, a plague on my house. I will do my best to have that ready for next week, because the bright side is that I probably will be doing this again next week. I don't see any reason not to. It's a fun time. I have the uh, kind of, I have the material to work on, and I have the wherewithal to tackle it. So, why not? Right? I think they're useful. It gives me an excuse to set aside some writing time for these projects. It's one of my um, honestly biggest challenges for getting community content out the door is finding the time to do it. So I find that having a structured time to work on these, is it's not a bad idea. All right, so let's center a line. I'm just building up my little text image here to throw up while we are sprinting. And once again, if anybody has any questions, fire away. Okay, so Academy of asked, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. Yes, is there a particular kind of content that I find people have the most interest in? I haven't really noticed any type of content being drastically more popular than another. I will say that when I have done um, like adventure content, like a straight up just like a story with your 3-act structure and the full 9 yards, I've seen those perform very well. I have seen character rosters, like literal, like ready-made characters, perform very well. And I've seen collections of like antagonists with like a group perform very well. So, uh, like it may not necessarily be like a structured adventure, but if you do a group of antagonists, or even a group that could go either way, there's let me bring up here the stuff that I have worked on, and just I have a couple that kind of stick out to me, but it's a matter of finding them. And my memory is not what it used to be. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but I've written a lot of things. So let's see. Digging through, just trying to find a good example that I can drop into the chat. Something I've done for community content. Oh, yeah, it helps if I search under the right category, doesn't it? I was looking at books I did art on. That's not going to help with the writing part. All right, there we go. Yeah, a campaign would be dope. I've thought about doing a collection of connected adventures. I have done some things that are, I guess, that build off of existing stuff. For as an example, this wasn't necessarily community content, but like I wrote the amalgamated idea dynamics tasty bit for Aberrant, and then I followed that up with the novella Tarot, and they appear in that. So making connections like that, I think, is a good thing that can easily be ported over to the Storypath Nexus. Here we go. Here's an example of things I've done that I think are cool and did well. Quantum compounds. Throw that link in the chat. That basically covers like Nova drugs for the most part. I think those come in super handy. Little niches like that where like you're given the traits for how to build them, but you're not necessarily given a lot of examples in the book. And another reason why I think that the quantum compounds makes a good example is there's something like 12 drugs in there, and each of those drugs has a SGC or two associated with it. So it's not just like here's the drug and the effects, but it's also like here's the nova that the drug is derived from, and here's a typical user of the drug. So you have like this whole sort of span of plot arcs that you can pull just from a very very sort of simple concept. I've got Danger in Lake Michigan is an adventure that I did that was based on another story that I ran for a different start playing group. And that also included Amalgamated Idea Dynamics as sort of the organization that everybody worked for. So again, it's sort of building off of the things that you've already built. I did 2 releases for Trinity Continuum Adventure that are connected. Heroes of the Sweet Spot was a group of ready-made characters that I built, and then the Sweet Spot itself was a location, a nightclub that had ties to the Anne Society, as well as a story for that setting, and then some plot hooks to take off beyond that. The other thing, I saw some chatter in the chat about the idea of doing like 1 campaign core plus 4 small intertwined adventures. That would be super cool. And another thing that the Nexus allows you to do and encourages you to do is collaborate, whether that be like a direct collaboration, like let's say me and Yuki Arctic get together and we say we're going to make a book about this team of supervillains in Abra. That's one way you can collaborate. You can go in, the tools are there. As I mentioned earlier, you split the royalties, but there's also a tool that you can go into in your drive-through settings once you set up your community content profile, and you can assign a portion of the royalties of your book to another person as long as they have an account. So if 2 or 3 or 4 creators want to work together, you can set it up so everybody gets a royalty share, whether that be based on the amount of word count they contributed or whatever metric you use to divide that. You make sure everybody gets a fair piece of the royalties. I've worked on a few books like that. The Assassins one that we did, Bloody Burrows, it was myself, Heron Anderson, Corbin, Josh Heath, and Simon K. I think all worked on it. Yeah, and that's like a 5-way split of the profits for that. And I will say that working as a team allows you to have more people, more eyes on it to make sure the quality is better, and more people to bring their own skill sets to the table. Maybe you're, really good with mechanics, but maybe not so good with plot. So you talk to a buddy who's good with plot, and there you have it. So that is one option. Another thing is when you create a release for the community content program, you are then adding that release's contents to the pool of intellectual property that people can use. Now, while we don't mandate that you credit somebody, and we ask that you don't directly copy what somebody else has done, like let's say you want to make an adventure for Trinity Continuum Adventure. and you pick up the sweet spot and you're like, oh, I love the idea of this nightclub set in Chicago, right in the 1934. There's a lot going on. It's a rich environment. It's already got a crew of SGCs ready made for me. I don't have to do any thinking or planning about the location. So now different writer, not me, but a different writer, says, oh, I want to make an adventure or a series of adventures that are set out of that place. You can absolutely do that. You can link it back to the book, say, hey, go pick up this to get the full breakdown of the location. You can describe what someone else has described, or include a character that somebody else has included. The biggest thing being that you're not just sort of copying and pasting somebody else's work, but you can absolutely iterate on it and build off of it. It's good etiquette to credit those people if you're building off their ideas. But that's kind of, and if you just were to like say, I'm going to make a copy of this thing, that would be against the rules, and you would have your product removed. You do want to make sure you check the FAQ. There are some rules to the program, but aside from the most egregious of violations of those rules, most of the time, if you were to put up something and you missed a rule, you made a mistake, somebody will reach out to you and say, hey, you missed a rule and made a mistake. Please correct X, Y, and Z, and then relist it. That has happened to me. I have put books up and forgotten to put the Storypath Nexus logo on the cover. It's a real easy mistake to make. I've made that mistake, and I will get an email that says, hey, you need to fix this. And I go fix it, and they relist it. So it's really not, I don't want anybody to feel intimidated by like, oh, I got to learn, this arcane publishing process. The FAQ breaks it out real simple. It's really a straightforward program to work on, and I'll just go ahead and actually I'm going to pin the FAQ right up to the top of the chat so that way you can get to it nice and easy. I have been flapping my gums for quite some time, so I'm going to go ahead and pop into another writing sprint. But definitely, if you have questions, ideas, suggested collaborations, things that you want to see. I love that we're talking about, what would we like to see? A campaign to sell. That'd be great. What other kinds of things, if you have an idea for a book that you think would be fun to make, drop that in the chat, or, take the opportunity to co-work. And we are going to kick off another writing sprint. So it's going to be 20 minutes. And during that 20 minutes, I will be muting so that you're not all listening to the dulcet tones of the clickety-clack of my keyboard. So let's get her going. 20 minutes it is. I'll talk to y'all in 20, starting now. right, everybody. That is the end of our 20-minute sprint. I hope everybody got some stuff in and done. I got a little bit of actual words on the page. One of the things I do, you'll notice, a lot of times I'm flipping through books and Googling things and whatnot. I do a lot of research while I'm writing, just to make sure I don't step in any really obvious mistakes or traps. Make sure I'm checking my own memories and biases. You may notice if you ever watch me run an actual play, I am a staunch believer in the story guide and the players, for that matter, making decisions and judgment calls at the table. So rather than spending, 20 minutes digging for a particular rule, I will often make a call. And that's not often what the book says. A lot of times, I go back later and find out, the book says XYZ. I'm way more concerned when I'm running games with everybody at the table having a good time than I am with sticking strictly to the rules. That said, when I am writing, I absolutely am double, triple checking, making sure that the rules are correct, because it's not my call to determine whether or not somebody else should omit or ignore a rule at their table. If there's a reason, for whatever reason, I put in a story like, hey, we're going to ignore this rule here for this thing, I'll explain it. But I want to make sure I have the rule right. Also, there are some urban legends that, you might, especially in working at a game like Scion, where it's urban fantasy, there are some urban legends that you want to double check, verify the source, see what the reality of them is, so that you can make informed decisions about how you're going to portray it. For example, as I mentioned, in case you missed it at the top of the show, what I am working on right now is a apartment complex that the Scion characters live in. It's going to be geared toward origin level play. It is a 15-story tall building in the city of Chicago. During this last sprint, I had to take a pause and do some research because I did not know whether or not apartment buildings at that height in Chicago tended to have a 13th floor. Turns out that they don't necessarily tend to have one. A lot of them are numbered 12 to 14, or the 13th floor is just numbered like maintenance or equipment. But I wanted to make sure that I found out kind of what the normal approach to that is, because if I don't live in Chicago, so I don't know if it's something that's commonly known, like, you know what I mean. So it's good to do a little bit of research there and check a couple of sources, make sure that you're on the right page with it. And of course, this building is not going to have a marked 13th floor, but it will have a 13th floor, and of course there's going to be weird shit in it because, again, it's urban fantasy, right? Like, that's the whole point. But I wanted to make sure that I was approaching it from a level of an informed place, if that makes sense. And I recommend you do the same. When you're writing, it's one of the reasons why I suggest, in any sort of writing endeavor, learn the rules of the composition, learn the rules of the system, learn the rules of the style, so then you know when you can bend and break those rules. And fortunately, speaking of styles, one of the things that Onyx Path does provide over at the Storyteller's Vault is a collection of style guides. So, for example, I know that there's not one out for every line yet, but I'm sorry, I said Storyteller's Vault. I meant Storypath Nexus. That is a mistake that I still make to this day. Storyteller's Vault is the community content program for World of Darkness, Chronicles, Darkness, and Exalted. Basically, everything I'm telling you about the Storypath Nexus also applies there. They have a different. They're run by Paradox. They have a different, slightly different FAQ, and obviously different set of game lines that you can work with, but it's basically the same setup. So, forgive an old man if he occasionally speaks incorrectly about which program he's referring to. Just looking through here. Yeah, so Scion has a community content style guide. You will note that that style guide is a free PDF, and it basically kind of breaks down for you, how you outline your chapters, structure your writing for Scion, and use concepts of the game, tonal and thematic guidelines for games of Scion, Origin, and Hero, and advice on building your own mechanical widgets. And like I said, that's free. It's over at DriveThruRPG. You can go snatch it up. And if there's other game lines that you're interested in, most of those also do have a style guide. And those that don't, I assure you, are on the way. They Came From has one. I'm not 100% sure does. 100% sure Anne does yet. Trinity Continuum has a general style guide. So yeah, I would recommend grabbing those. That's a good way to kind of know what what is appropriate for the line and how to bring your project, your product in line with those standards. So while I was working so far today, I'm up to about 898 words, which is not too bad. I don't think, considering the amount of stop and Google I've had to do. However, I'm going to go ahead and save my document because I have been out here like a absolutely unhinged man, not saving my work. Don't do that. Save often, save frequently. So I'm going to take a moment and go do that. And while I'm saving this, anybody out there in chat land, if you have a question or if you have something you've been working on or an idea that you would like to see on the Nexus or would like to put on the Nexus, hit me up in chat. Let's talk. Let's talk concepts. I did love that at the last break we were talking about potential collaborations. It looks like maybe even some suggestions were made in the chat amongst y'all, and I would strongly recommend that you follow up on those. So yeah, what's everybody got in their mind? Make sure I'm saving this in the right spot so I don't go losing it. There we go. Saved as God's Village. So yeah, save your work often. Holy cow. There's nothing quite as heartbreaking as spending several hours cranking on a draft only to have your computer die or maybe power go out, your cat runs across your keyboard, everything goes away. Yeah, save. Let's see, what have we got so far? One of the things, as I mentioned kind of at the top of the show, since this is a high-rise building, it's good, solid construction. We're going to apply a size scale of 4 to that building. That is information that now we have in the supplement that may or may not even come into play while the characters are operating at Origin tier. But if it's where their home base is, if it's where they live, where they stay once they tier up to hero, maybe even demigod, that scale will come into play a little bit more often, depending on what sort of activities they get up to in there, what kind of denizens maybe they fight. And another thing that I'm getting back to, I guess, why I was thinking about the 13th floor of the building. Uh, I'm operating under the impression that if a band of scions sort of come together in this space, that's going to that's going to encourage otherworldly activity. And that otherworldly activity will easily sort of anchor itself to places where an existing superstition might be. So it's possible. I'm going to look through the uh, origin book and through the hero book just for some guidance on the issue. But maybe the 13th floor will actually be like a literal terra incognita. We'll see. I'll play around with it. Yeah, Curseborn is not available for the Storypath Nexus at this point. It will be at some point. And, if you're considering doing fiction, a couple things I would recommend. One, if you knowing that it is going to come out, no reason not to get get started. Start exploring your ideas, start planning. Um, I know we just did a short fiction contest not long ago, uh, and we'll be reaching out to the various winners of that very very soon. And I'm sure we'll have another one. It was a fun contest; people seem to enjoy it. But the contest, or a game jam. That's another thing that we'll often see is like we'll announce, oh, we're going to do a game jam. Often the ones that have been done so far have been done actually by the community. GM Corbin has put those together, and then come to us and said, hey, would we support it? Yeah, sure. So when those run, those are like, here's a particular word count you want to hit or a particular element we're looking for, and you have a very short deadline with which to do it in. And that's fine. And that can create some very cool expressions of creativity and some very neat projects. That said, I think there is merit in taking a longer approach, especially if you're looking at like, oh, I'd like to do a collection of short stories, or I want to write a novella. You know, my wife and I worked together on Terrat, and it took us a month and a half to get the first draft of that book done. And I really backburnered pretty much everything else I had going on when I was writing Terrat. Um, and I really only wrote, a little over half the book. Um, Basically, my wife wrote all of the Jordan sections, and I wrote the rest. And that was just the first draft, and then we had our notes, and we had to go through and fix the notes and whatnot. So it takes time, And Sarah, it's not that big; it's 80,000 words, something like that. So if you wanted to do 10,000 word short stories, it's the same level of work. And I understand that a lot of people aren't doing this full time. You know what I mean? If you're doing community content, I'm assuming you have other things going on in your life. So giving yourself the grace and the time, figuring out what your pace is, figuring out what your word count is, and the way you approach it. I have a speed limit. I do everything in my power to keep myself under 2,000 words per day as far as the word count that I am committed to delivering. Less than 2,000 words a day, I can live a normal life. I can have some sort of work life balance. I can occasionally play a video game. I can hang out with my grandkids, things like that. If I try to get over that, it really starts to cut into my ability to enjoy my life. And to perform my other work duties, because I don't just do writing. I also do a lot of graphic design. I manage the social media for Onyx Path. I have a lot of. I have my own publishing company. Like I have a lot of irons in the fire. So I over the years have sort of said, hey, this is what works best for me, and that's how it goes. So I would recommend, if you're gonna get into something like a fiction or like a longer form project, start small. Instead of going like, hey, I'm gonna write, 8,000-10,000 word short stories. Say I'm gonna write one 5,000 word short story, and I'm gonna time myself. I'm gonna see how long it takes. I'm going to accept going into that the first draft is not going to be the final draft. So I'm going to account for the rewrite times. I'm going to figure that out, and then use that as a gauge. I love the idea that came up earlier about, oh, let's do a campaign. Awesome. Don't start there. Don't make that your first community content release. Your first community content release should maybe be the first installment of that adventure. Another thing that you can do, very interesting thing, you have the option of bundling things together too. So like if you said, I want to do a collection of short stories, or I wanted to do a campaign of adventures, you could put those out one at a time as individual releases. And then when it's done, bundle it all up so that the people who've already purchased the previous parts will get a bit of a discount when they buy the last bit, or somebody can just go in and buy the whole thing. Alon Giorlia is a creator who, I probably murdered the pronunciation of his name, sorry. He's a creator who's done a lot of stuff on the Slurishing Vault, which is the Scarlands community content program. And he's done that where he'll do a series of related releases and then bundle them up. That's another thing that I've done as well. So I would recommend diving in on those things. Time flies when you're having fun. Does anybody have any last questions before we dive into one more sprint? Because we are coming up on time already. And if not, no worries. One thing I would recommend as a resource is the Onyx Path official Discord. There are channels over there that are dedicated to the community content programs. So you can go in there and ask for advice. You can also talk in the game line that you are interested in writing for about what's the community content options here, and some friendly person, probably Ian, will point you at the right channel. And also it's just a good way to get some insight into what's available, and insight into what people want. Though there is also merit, 100% there is merit in designing just what you want. That's maybe not the most marketable approach, but there's a lot of fun in just, I'm making the thing that I want to make. And if people are along for the ride, cool. Don't forget, folks, that's the reason we're doing this, is because it's a fun time. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off one final sprint before we hit the bricks. So get your pens up. Let's get rocking and rolling. And 20 minutes, here we go.
Yeah. Sometimes I get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, I might grab a bat, I don't know. My wrath, my blood boils over like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show. So have you ever felt betrayed? Switches how you see things, realize something needs change. Cause I know you got me fucked up, let me show you what's up. Cause enough is enough. I'll take a face full of pavement just to make a statement. I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll play it on your face to make you go take it back. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And now you go wish you would shut the fuck up real bad. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. I don't fucking take smoke, I'ma poke a hole through you, choking's overdue. Come at me and you won't get any older, dude. Crack your holder too. Heating up inside of me, blood so violently. Thanks for trying me. Now it's finally time to see how this rivalry becomes a dynasty. I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll play it on your face to make you go take it back. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And
final sprint for the day is complete. I got up to 1179 words on this document. In all fairness, I probably did have 300 or 400 just in notes that I popped over from the Discord where we'd started discussing this. But I have managed to break down the basic structure of the building. I've described the basement, the first floor, the way the locks function in the building, and gotten a little bit into what is going on the 13th floor, because writing the spooky stuff is always fun. And we'll get into that a little bit probably next week. I'll start going over the specifics of what's in there during the breaks, in part because we're at time today. It's 2 hours. Hard to believe it is already gone, but time flies when you're on the run. I do want to remind you a few things. One, this bit of fiction, well, this supplement I'm working on, as I should say, rather than fiction, is directly related to a Scion Scion role-playing game that I am running via Start Playing. You can sign up to play with me as your GM. It's Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern at the moment, or 9 p.m. Central rather at the moment, 10 p.m. Eastern. And we got a couple of seats open, so I'm gonna throw the link to the chat. I would love to have you join. We got I think 2 seats open. We just started, so we are welcoming new players. I want to remind you that the pinned comment in the chat has your FAQ for the Storypath Nexus. All the information you could want is there. I highly recommend giving that a look, and you can definitely head over to our Discord, which I will pop in the chat, to check out the channels there for our various game lines and for our various community content programs, to get some advice, insight, ideas, find out what people might want, and just generally speaking, familiarize yourself with our games. If you're not already there, it's a fun, cool community. We have a great time talking about the games. There are looking for group channels. It's a wonderful place, and we like to keep it a wonderful place. So come in and be nice. Wipe your feet. Also, I want to remind you that this week's release over at DriveThruRPG was the Master Cat Tasty Bit for Curseborn. Each month we are releasing a new antagonist for Curseborn. These antagonists not only work with the Curseborn manuscript that you might get your hands on if you have supported it on Kickstarter or if you've pre-ordered it on BackerKit, but they're actually also designed to have all the rules that you need to use them with the Curseborn Ashcan edition. So if you wanted to wait, you're not somebody who does, crowdfunding, that's cool, no worries. You can pick up the Ashcan edition now. It's available at DriveThruRPG in POD and PDF. I will throw a link to that in the chat as well. This has ready-made characters in it and all the basic rules you need to run the scenario that is included. But the reason I bring that up is because the Tasty Bits are designed to have all the extra rules you need for the antagonists that they present. So you can take your Ashcan, you take your Tasty Bits, you will have at the end of the year 12 antagonists that can follow up the main story that's presented in the Ashcan edition. Right now I think there's 7 out right now because we've been doing one every month. Next month's Tasty Bit is, I'm super proud of. It's one I wrote called Weeping Scars. I really hope you will check that out when it drops. Oh, yeah, and of course, if you've not yet pre-ordered Curseborn, our triumphant return to horror, why bad things happen to good people, where you play as a cursed descendants of monstrous lineages lurking in a modern world that closely resembles our own. If that sounds interesting to you, you can bop on over to BackerKit via the link I am about to drop in the chat here. Head over there, pre-order your copy of Curseborn. I do believe that once you pre-order, you get access to the manuscript. It might take a little while for it to come through, but you'll get access to the manuscript as well as the updated versions. Since the Kickstarter campaign, we've been working very hard to incorporate feedback from the public as well as our own sort of playtest feedback, and sort of make these, iterate the document out to closer to its final form, make it as playable and enjoyable as possible. And those revisions are now starting to make their way out to the backers. So definitely head over there and check that out if you've not yet done so. I will be back here a week from today at the same time, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern, for another adventure in community content creation. We'll be working on the same book. I'm sure talk a little bit more about what's in it, and I'll be answering any questions. Thank you for being here, Kadam. I appreciate your presence. Your presence is a present. But that's it for me. I got to go get to some various other stuff. So please hang out. I'm going to send a raid over to friend of the channel, Bunny Hearted. We love her dearly, and I ask that you go in and show nothing but kindness and love. And thank you all so much for being here. If you've not yet done so, please follow the channel. Send us a subscription. Subscribing is a huge help. And if you are an Amazon Prime user and have not yet done so, you can get one free sub per month. We would love to be your free sub. That said, I am out the door. Our next stream on this channel, I do believe, is going to be Trinity Continuum Saya, which is going to be on Sunday. Till then, take care of yourselves and each other. The world is a dark and terrible place. Go be the light in somebody's life. We'll see you around real soon. Bye, everybody.